Hello, welcome to Chatty Boy, episode number 9. And it is number 9 this time. I've got it right. I'm pretty sure I've got it right. I'm not a moron. Not today. Not this week, anyway. There was no video last week. I wasn't in the country. I was in Belgium getting drunk. And then I went from Belgium immediately to EGX 2017. Which is what this video is going to be about. I want to talk to you about EGX 2017. So if you didn't know, EGX is run by Gamer Network, who are a parent company of Eurogamer. So it's a legit event. Some of the biggest games, some of the biggest publishers, some of the biggest developers always end up at EGX. It is the UK's version of Gamescom or E3. This year was a special year for them. It was their 10th anniversary and it lived up to the hype, really. Lived up to the hype in the way that it actually had all of the 3 major console developers and manufacturers actually there this year. So Nintendo, Microsoft and Sony all made an appearance. Sony obviously riding on the highs from the past couple of years. Microsoft there with the Xbox One X, and Nintendo continuing to roll out their Nintendo Switch library as it grows. So, it's a good year for gaming, a good year for EGX. All round, a decent event, I must say. So, I want to go through some of the things I saw at EGX, what my take was on them, just a little bit of a coverall of the event, of what I saw and what I experienced, and what it could mean in the future, for the future of gaming. So, first up, I'll go through all of the AAA games that I saw, and then I'll move on to the indie game stuff, because that is where the kind of massive content is for EGX. A big part of their whole thing is their indie game section, and it is a nice thing. It's a nice thing for them to do. It's a nice thing for them to acknowledge the small guy. But I'll move on to those in a second. There was a lot of those to go through. First off, though, the AAA nonsense that I saw. First up, one of the games I was most excited to see at EGX and was really happy when I knew it was going to be there. And that game is Far Cry 5. After the trailers and the gameplay trailers at E3, I was really hyped up on this game. I thought it was an interesting idea going to America, seeing how they would approach that idea. It seemed like a step in the right direction for Ubisoft and something that I think is evident of them changing tact and getting better at what they are doing. So, Far Cry 5, queued for an hour and a half-ish, got in there, and ultimately came out a little disappointed, to be honest. It definitely felt extremely unfinished. And that's understandable given that it is coming out in February, I admit. But that demo I played was nothing short of atrocious. There's no other word to describe it. There was this horrific motion blur throughout the whole thing. There was some controller input lag, multiple occasions, not just on my station, but on my friends' stations as well. And all of that just made the shooting and the combat feel a little bit loose. I mean, the thing looked pretty, but the moment you started moving around the environment and moving the camera, it just kind of went to shit, which was a bit of a letdown. I do have a theory, though. I have a theory that issue was to do with this true motion nonsense bollocks that these new TVs have in them, where they kind of add those false frames. I have noticed that before on a TV I have at home, where if I have True Motion on, there is like an input lag with my PS4. I wonder if that's what happened, that the True Motion wasn't turned off. But again, that is something as a showcase you should be aware of and shouldn't be allowing to happen. And that happened, and it made the game feel like shit, and ultimately gave me a sour taste about it. I did use some of the partner abilities. You can pick from 3 partners. You can pick a guy in an aeroplane, a sniper, or the dog called Boomer. I picked the dog, because why the hell wouldn't you? And I wish I fucking hadn't, because ultimately, he's a bit wank. All he did was just attack people on command. There was nothing else really that I could see him doing or him benefiting me in any way. The animation and AI was a bit weird as well. The enemy AI, they kept like walking into walls and getting confused at where I was too easily. I kept getting snagged on things in the environment, which was annoying as fuck. I mean, I can't jump over a fence, really. So yeah, I came out of Far Cry 5 a little bit let down. I went in there hyped up on it and a little bit let down. But I don't think this is going to be indicative of the final product. They've got a little bit of time left to develop it and make it work. And to be fair, I think this was the E3 demo from a few months ago, so this is an old build that I've played. And like I said, maybe with the true motion issues on the TVs and whatnot, but ultimately trying to showcase something at its best and actually having it at its worst is not a good thing from Ubisoft, and it's not a good thing for Far Cry 5, and it has really dampened my expectations now. I am not as hot on that as I was. Speaking of things that I wasn't hot on, but now am, Call of Duty World War II. Now, I didn't expect anything from this. I thought it was going to be more Call of Duty nonsense, more more bullshit, just reskinned with this World War II kind of theme and atmosphere. But went in there, played the multiplayer demo, and came out of it like wanting to buy the game. It feels genuinely good to play Call of Duty again. So basically with this version, what they've done is they've removed the wall running, obviously, they've removed that slide mechanic, and they've stripped it down to what Call of Duty was before. The kind of verticality of it and the three-dimensional like movement and attack is gone. It's all like on a two-dimensional plane now. The environments were great, it sounded good, it was genuinely impressive to play. I actually did alright as well, which is a fucking first, because I'm terrible at Call of Duties, especially the recent ones, because of how much nonsense and how much fast-paced action is going on. Now, yeah, it was a little fast-paced still, and did feel kind of arcadey in that way that Call of Duty does, but it felt tight, it felt good, and it's something that I could see myself picking up and playing quite a bit. I can get behind this game. Ultimately, I came out of that multiplayer demo surprised and quite positive on the whole. I think it's going to be a decent game. I think it's going to turn out to be a good, complete product. I can get behind this one, Activision. You're doing alright. You're doing alright with this, and that's surprising. I didn't expect it to be okay. So Far Cry 5, let down, Call of Duty World War II, surprisingly good. Something I didn't expect from this so far. Right then, Battlefront 2, that was the next game I managed to get into. In all honesty, from what I played, which was just a multiplayer demo, I can't say that it feels all that different from the first. It just seems like more of the same, you know. It looks great, it sounds accurate, everything looks like Star Wars, feels like Star Wars. The shooting in it is... I burn myself with coffee. Fuck. What a dickhead. The shooting in it is tight, it feels good, if a little shallow and not a lot of depth to it. You know, there's not a lot of option in the gunplay. They now have a class system, so before where it was just kind of pick your weapon, it is now you've got certain classes to pick from, which is a smart idea, kind of balances the game out a little bit. But other than that, from what I played, I didn't see a hell of a lot of difference from Battlefront 1 to Battlefront 2. And my friend made a really good point about it as well. Like, if he'd have sat down in front of this game and just played it and hadn't been told it was Battlefront 2, he wouldn't have thought any different. Like, what we played could have easily been some DLC of, like, the clone era. Wouldn't have known. Would not have known. But I don't think that is where the real test for this game is going to be. The problem with the last one wasn't that the gameplay was poor. It was that there wasn't enough content there. And that's where the real test is going to be for Battlefront 2, is in that story single-player mode. Will it actually be a complete experience, or will it just be more of the same? My initial instinct leans towards the former, that it will be a more complete package. Because there's no way that you're going to have a story mode in there and not have it be more complete. You are going to get a good chunk of content. The quality of that content, that's where the judgment will lie. We shall see. But from what I played at EGX, I really can't have an opinion on Battlefront 2 right now. It seems exactly like the first in terms of gameplay. So, Assassin's Creed Origins, another one of Ubisoft's games that I've got high hopes for, hoping that they may actually be able to turn around this franchise and get themselves on the right path, because I think Ubisoft have got some great IPs, they just need to figure out how to use them properly. Fortunately enough, I think they're on the right track with this one. It seemed alright, like pretty good. I'm okay with it. So the melee combat felt good, the climbing felt good, moving around the area, you know, perfect. It felt very Assassin's Creed, don't get me wrong, very Assassin's Creed. Like, it was unmistakably an Assassin's Creed game. You know, maneuvering around, I didn't fall off shit, I didn't start climbing on stuff that I didn't want to. It feels like a step in the right direction, it feels like a positive move, but I must say I haven't actually played an Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag, so I don't think I can have a completely valid opinion on it, because I'm comparing it to a game that's, 5 years old now? Whereas Assassin's Creed Syndicate came out 2 years ago when this will release, and I don't know how it's going to stack up against that. But from what I played of Assassin's Creed Origins, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. That eagle view mechanic where you can take control of the eagle is as I expected. It seems to be that kind of drone mechanic that Ubisoft have been copy and pasting into their recent games. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a little unoriginal. But you know what? It's functional. And it looked quite pretty as well, most of the time. You know, standing still and not moving around a lot, it looked good. There was some technical, like, kind of performance issues. There was like texture popping on the trees and stuff like that, which was strange considering I was playing this on an Xbox One X. And I didn't expect there to be performance issues on the world's most powerful console. So I don't know what that says about Ubisoft or about the Xbox One X, but you know, it's not positive. But one thing I will say is that with these Assassin's Creed games, they are masters at world building. Like the feel from the environment, from being in Egypt, the little town we walked through, into the harbour and seeing the boats, you know, they built up quite an impressive world there. Characters were having conversations by the side of me. I could hear could hear what they were saying. NPCs were roaming around doing tasks of their own accord, and that's one thing they've always been very good at, is kind of building up a kind of an atmosphere. So, yeah, all in all, I came out mildly impressed, if not a little, like, trepidatious about the whole thing. Trepidatious a word? I'm going to use it. But yeah, fingers crossed. I'm cautiously optimistic about Assassin's Creed Origins. That's the best way to put it. Cautiously optimistic. Right, what was next? Right, okay. South Park, The Fractured Butthole. Absolutely incredible. One of my favourite demos of the weekend by far. It is fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Completely ridiculous. I was playing a small child giving a lap dance to a man in a club. It's mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-bogglingly good from Matt Stone and Trey Parker. This coffee, man. What is wrong with me? I'm covered in it. I have to put these jeans in the wash. I was literally stifling laughter throughout the entire demo just to get through the game because it was so fucking good. So the combat in The Fractured Butthole compared to The Stick of Truth has had a slight evolution, not by much, but enough to, you know, warrant this kind of upgrade, to warrant a sequel. It's enough of a difference and an improvement to, you know, sell you the game. You can now move around during combat, which is useful because now the attacks affect different areas depending on what they're like. They might affect a cross-shaped area or a T-shaped area or whatever, and you have to arrange your character in a certain position to hit as many enemies as possible. How you actually implement the attacks now seems to have changed a little bit, if I'm remembering correctly, because now you have to follow a kind of a quick time event where you have to hit certain face buttons to make sure your attack is effective and accurate. And yeah, it all seems pretty legit. It seems like it's going in the right direction. I'm pretty sure news last week broke of it going gold, so it is actually going to come out on the day it's supposed to, which I think is in October. Definitely one of the best AAA games that were at EGX. I mean, I think they've got this spot on once again. They're going to have a masterpiece here. An absolute masterpiece. A perfect South Park experience, and I just can't wait for it. Moving swiftly on to the complete clusterfuck of the entire event, in my opinion. Sonic Forces, yeah, this game. I haven't been hot on this game. I haven't been hot on this game at all since its announcement. I mean, everything we've seen of it looks fucking stupid. So you've got Sonic running through like a post-apocalyptic city, and then all of a sudden it goes to 2D side-scrolling in like the green zone. I'm like, okay, mate, you really don't know where you're at with this one. And watching over people's shoulders as they were playing it, seeing that camera move to the different kind of Sonic perspectives without any explanation, and then finally getting down and playing it myself, it is as I expected. Complete horseshit. So let me explain to you how to play Sonic Forces. I played one stage, okay? You hold the direction that you want to go, and you just keep hitting the X button. You just keep hitting it, because that controls everything. Everything. When you're attacking enemies, you press X to jump up once, press X again to attack them, X to avoid obstacles. Just hold the direction and press X. At one point, I literally looked away from the screen for a good 10 to 15 seconds and carried on playing as if I was staring right at it. There is no amount of skill needed to play this game. From what I played, I will add, from what I played. But, I mean, this is a video game that doesn't actually require you to look at the screen to get through the levels successfully. And after the success of Sonic Mania earlier in the year, it's going to be a damn fucking shame. It's going to put an absolute downer on the whole Sonic franchise. It's back to that whole thing again, you know, you've done something right, and now you're going to do something very fucking wrong with Sonic Forces. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but no amount of customization is going to help you this time around. I can't imagine this turning out to be good in the least bit. But I had to try it out for myself. It was there, I had to see, and I was right. Two more AAA games that I saw. Okay, in the Sony booth, Detroit? Yeah, Detroit Become Human. Absolutely shit name, but impressive. I was very, very surprised by this. I think this is like a close second, if not tied with South Park on the AAA front of things. So Detroit Become Human is from Quantic Dream, the guys who made Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. Now, Heavy Rain was critically acclaimed as an excellent game. Perfect, even. And then Beyond Two Souls was a bit of a letdown from what was really becoming an established studio. So this is kind of their redemption. I thought this was their redemption from Quantic Dream. I wasn't expecting much going in because of Beyond Two Souls. I was a bit down on that. Plus, they take a long fucking time to make their games, so by the time it's ready to come out, you kind of forgot about it. I didn't really invest that much emotional interest into this game. And then I played it, and just amazing. Absolutely amazing. It drew me into the story it was trying to tell, all about androids and robotics and this AI kind of fine line between human and computing tech. The demo I played was the one that they showed at E3? E3 is the hostage situation where you're on the roof trying to convince an android not to kill his owner or his owner's daughter. Yeah, his owner's daughter. You walk into their apartment where he's already murdered 2 people, and you have to investigate the apartment. Well, you don't have to. You can choose to investigate the apartment. If you investigate the apartment, piece together a scenario, your negotiation probability, your success, increases. So the more you look around, the more attention to detail that you pay, the more likely you are to save this hostage and or this android that has gone mental. And you're playing as an android detective as well, by the way. And it was really good, using that kind of environmental storytelling perfectly. You know, you were finding evidence around the apartment, figuring out what happened, reconstructing things in your head, rewinding it, kind of like how you do in the Arkham games. Very cool, very interesting. I ended up killing the poor android, but saving the girl, so, you know, it was alright. But it got my attention, it hooked me in. I wanted to play more of that game, I wanted to experience more of the story, more of what was going on. I wanted to see what different outcomes I could do if I made different decisions. And for a short 10 to 15 minute demo, that's very, very strong. You've got a really limited amount of time as a developer / publisher to convince somebody that your game is good. Detroit Become Human did that perfectly. You know, Sony and Quantic Dream have got this little nugget of a demo, this vertical slice, admittedly, that has proven to me that I want this game now. I now want this game. I had no interest in it. And now I do. I want to buy it. This game also looked amazing. I'm not sure if it was on PS4 Pro. I didn't manage to find that out or not. But it looked incredible. I could literally see the dude's blackheads on his nose. That was amazing. So yeah, all things considered, I came away very impressed with this game and excited to see more of what comes from it. Excited to play it when it comes out, finally. And finally, on the AAA front, coming from Nintendo, Mario Odyssey. And I'm not actually going to be a cunt about it. I'm not. It was good fun. It seemed like good fun. I played about 10, 15 minutes of it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed fucking around in New Donk City. It was a good laugh. I couldn't find any hookers for Mario to bang, but hey, you know, DLC and all that. What I especially enjoyed about playing Mario Odyssey, and something that was pointed out to me by one of the guys running the booth, was that there is a hidden layer of depth to everything in the game. There's a little bit extra for those who are willing to seek it out. Like all the traffic lights. If you look closely at the traffic lights, the crosswalk signs were all question mark boxes that you could hit and get coins out of. I played a little puzzle in the game where it was a top-down perspective where you had to spin like the walls to find the moon segments. The insinuation there was that it was a fixed perspective and you couldn't move the camera, but if you tried moving the camera, you got a different view on things, and if you turned the camera around enough, you could see a secret moon hidden behind the puzzle itself that you had to jump on top of. It was all about noticing the little things and experimenting and seeing if anything came from them. And most of the time, it did. You know, it kind of encouraged experimentation with the game, which was really nice and really refreshing, and actually some good fun, some darn good fun, I've got to admit. Thing is it a system seller? I doubt it. I doubt that Mario Odyssey is going to be the killer app for Nintendo Switch. Because all these secrets, all these little hidden layers and different ideas swirling around the game in Mario Odyssey seem to be callbacks to previous games, like where you can go as 2D Mario and run around the tower as 2D Mario. They all feel like a callback to what Mario has been and a celebration of it all. And I don't think that is necessarily going to attract a newer audience, one that isn't as familiar with Mario. I came at that demo thinking, you know, that was good fun. I'd like to play that more, you know, if I could actually buy a Nintendo Switch. So, you know, I want to buy one of your games, Nintendo. Can I have a console now? Please. And finally, moving on from the AAA stuff into the indie games. Now, as I said earlier, the indie games are a big part of EGX. There was 116 indie titles there this year, and I saw quite a lot of them. Quite a good chunk of them. I played probably about 15, 20 indie games. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, because that would take me days. But the selection there, like, the quality of them, you know, there's a good standard. None of them are shit. Don't get me wrong. They may not be to everybody's taste, but the quality is top notch. Some of the best indie games you will find will be at EGX. So what I've done is I've picked my favourite 5 indie games from EGX, just to keep things easier. Not just indie games though, indie games and the smaller studios that were around there that are a little bigger, but not quite AAA standard, I would say, personally. First up, surprisingly, a mobile game. Yeah, a mobile game and Apple TV game. It's called Oil, and it's from Weedor Studios. They're based in Scotland, from Abertay University. I think that's right. Basically, Oil is a university project, and one of the strongest games there, I would say. It's a combination of Minesweeper, battleships, that's all inspired by There Will Be Blood. like even down to the little character design, is the main character from There Will Be Blood. Basically, just like battleships, you plant where your oil wells will be, you make them in different shapes, different sizes, whatever you want. You've got like a certain amount to plant. And then you move on to either playing the AI or another human player. And you play battleships, you dig for each other's oil. Very interesting take on battleships, very stylish looking game. Easy to play as well, super simple to play. Apparently coming out for full release in October, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be on Android and on iOS. Hotly recommend this game. Then there was a game that is already out. It came out in May, and I hadn't heard of it until I played it at EGX. It's called Black and White Bushido. It's basically one of these 2D player versus player hack and slash games. Kind of like Nidhogg or Towerfall Ascension. The interesting thing about this, though, is how the map changes. So there are different shafts of light coming through the game, making it either white and leaving black shadows, or sometimes turning the entire map black or the entire map white. Now, depending on whether your character is black or white and you're in those areas, you're hidden. So if you're a white character and you're stood directly in the light and you stand perfectly still, you're invisible. Whereas the black player will be completely visible, and vice versa. Very interesting. Adds a different layer of competition to the game, kind of predicting where people will be and what they're going to do next and what their move will be. Great to play, like couch co-op style. I think there is an online mode with it already. It's $9.99. It's out now. It's on the PS Store. It's on everywhere else. Go play it. It's fucking amazing. I was well happy with that, and they made a sale out of me. Let's put it that way. And another 2D style game. You know, there's a pattern here. There's a pattern. There's a reason why these 2D games are still relevant. A game called Dead Cells. So Dead Cells started off easy, got a little bit difficult, very fluid in the action and the combat, a good variety of weapons to choose from. They call themselves a roguevania, so kind of a roguelike game, but with Castlevania, Metroidvania kind of tendencies. You need to be fast to get around it, you need to be precise as well. Accuracy is like key with this, and it's interesting because when the enemies are around, you can move the camera around and see where the enemies are, and you can sort of plan an attack if you know how they're going to attack, because they always attack in the same way. So if you're quick enough, you can jump up, shoot an arrow, jump again to dodge another projectile, and then move in for the kill with your melee attack. A very interesting game, very exciting. Stylishly as well, the way it looked, the colours, the kind of pixelated art that is kind of hot shit right now and still remains to be hot shit. Sold the game to me, sold it very well, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's from a developer called Motion Twin. So go find Dead Cells, go find out who Motion Twin are, and see when this game is out. I didn't actually get a release date for it. Next up, Battalion 1944. Now this one was another surprising one. I heard nothing from it. It was in the Square Enix collective, so I'm assuming Square Enix have got something to do with this game. I didn't quite figure out what. But yeah, Battalion 1944. Imagine Counter-Strike, but in World War II. That is how this game feels and how it plays. Now, it's on PC. I'm not a huge PC gamer. In fact, I'm not a PC gamer at all. I don't get the mousey keyboard bollocks. It took me a while to adjust to WASD and using the mouse and stuff. But once I got my fingers in the right place, once I got my fingers in the right holes, it's important to get your fingers in the right holes. You know, this game came to life for me. I fucking loved it. It was basically what I played earlier in the day, earlier in the weekend with Call of Duty World War II, but a little bit more intense, a little bit more arcadey. I can't quite put my finger on what it was that made this game so interesting. It was highly competitive, and I felt, even though I'm not a PC gamer, I felt like I still played kind of an integral role. Like, I wasn't shit. You know, I don't play PC games. I've never played a competitive online shooter on a PC, but I was competent. Maybe that's why I liked it, because I was half decent at it. I don't know. Again, kind of followed that suit that Call of Duty World War II did, with a sort of strip rack approach, not a lot going on, just enough to, you know, get you by and be competitive with it. I can see this game kind of getting into that esports realm, even though it's not a sport. But I can see it getting into it. Quite easily see it getting into the esports stuff. So yeah, recommend that. Recommend you keep an eye out for that. And finally, an indie that isn't really an indie game. It was just in the indie game section with all the smaller game stuff. It comes from Rebellion. I hadn't heard of it until I got there, which was surprising because I normally know about things, especially things like this. There's a game called Strange Brigade. Strange Brigade. A game called Strange Brigade. A game called Strange Brigade. Fucking hell. I didn't realise what a mouthful that was. So, Strange Brigade. A first-person shooter, 4-player co-op, very similar to kind of the Left 4 Dead and Evolve kind of style. You dropped into a map with 4 other players that you sync up with, or I think you can play it on your own. And you basically have wave after wave of enemy to get through, leading up to a big boss and whatever. The area we played in had mummies coming at us, big Minotaur monsters, and zombies coming out of the ground and attacking us. It's set in a kind of 30s, 40s era, maybe the 50s. So yeah, kind of in that 20th, mid 20th century era. And as such, it's got this kind of style about it. It sets it up as like one of those old school TV shows, like join us next time when blah blah blah. It's like that. Like it intros the characters in black and white, and once you jump into the map, it's very stylish, very colourful, very bright. And once you get into the rhythm of it, I was playing as a soldier with like the one-shot rifle. But once you get into the rhythm of it, like the more headshots you get in a row, the more powerful your rifle becomes, and it gets super stylish, super fast, and it's super fun. One of the highlights of the weekend for me, personally, I think one of my favourite games from the weekend, to be fair, because it was just so kooky and so strange. So yeah, so if you haven't checked that game out, I highly recommend you go and do so. It looks amazing. It was amazing to play, and it felt fucking fantastic. And that's it. That's basically all I saw at EGX 2017. A lot of good stuff this year. A lot of good stuff. A lot of different stuff. A lot of variety. Last year was more focused on VR and PSVR in particular, showing that off because that was about 2 months away at the time. This year, though, it was more about the games, more about the big AAA games that are coming out. Some of them were good, some of them I was let down by, others I was actually surprised by. Once again, though, the indie games for me, they stole the show. Every single one of those indie games I played was, at its very worst, good, but on the whole, fucking impressive. You know, that is where the nugget of creativity is in the industry, I feel. I think that the indie game sector is the one where all the decent ideas are being held. You know, all the AAA stuff is good, but it's everything I played in the AAA sections were kind of things that I'd played before. Your Call of Duties, your Assassin's Creed, South Park as well. You know, I played it all before, or something like it all before. Even Mario Odyssey, you know, it's not a huge leap away from what came before it. The indie stuff, though, again, the indie stuff, just full of creativity, full of wild, wonderful ideas. And yeah, that's my takeaway from EGX 2017. The indies won it for me, without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah, that's it. That's Chatty Boy, episode number 9, my EGX roundup. Come let me know what you think in the comments down below, or over on Twitter at DarylDoes. You know, were you at EGX? Did you get to play some of these games that I played? What were your thoughts? And now I'm going to go and sort out this mess of a coffee stain that is currently on my lap. I've absolutely ruined these jeans, because apparently I don't know how to drink out of a fucking mug. So, until next time, my friends.